Every diagram we've ever seen of how hair grows shows the same thing. New cells divide at the bottom of the follicle and they push the older cells up, like toothpaste out of a tube. That's the model. It's in the textbooks. That's probably what your dermatologist pictures. A team at Queen Mary University in London and L'Oreal kept human hair follicles alive in a dish, filmed the individual cells in 3D, and watched what actually happens. And the pushing model, it doesn't match what they saw. Now, this is just one study. It's human tissue, but in a lab dish, not on a living head. But it's super fascinating, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what they found, how strong the evidence is, and the one part everyone online is already overstating. Let's get into it. To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to understand the old picture first. Down at the base of every active follicle is the bulb. Inside it, a cluster of cells called the matrix divides faster than almost any other cell in your body. The textbook logic is simple. Those cells divide, the new ones have nowhere to go but up, so they shove the older cells upward. Those older cells harden into keratin, and that column of hardened cells is your hair shaft. So in the classic model, growth equals division. More dividing cells at the bottom, more push, more hair coming out the top. Proliferative pressure, pushing from below. Hold on to that because the whole story turns on one question. If you stop the dividing, would the hair stop growing? The team took micro-dissected segments of human follicles in the active growth phase or anagen phase and kept them alive in culture. Then they used a 3D live imaging system to track where individual cells moved over time. Not a snapshot, a movie of the choreography inside a living follicle. And the choreography was strange. The cells in the outer root sheath, that's the outer layer wrapped around the hair shaft, moved in a spiral downward into the lower bulb. Cells flowing down on the outside while the hair pushes up through the middle. Then came the two experiments that flipped the textbook. Experiment 1. They blocked cell division inside the follicle. Now, if the pushing model is right, growth should stall. No new cells, no shove. Instead, the follicles kept growing hair at nearly the same rate. The pushing engine wasn't doing the work everyone assumed it was. Experiment 2, they interfered with actin. That's the protein that lets cells contract and physically move. And hair growth dropped by more than 80%. So division barely mattered, movement mattered enormously. The researchers' conclusion, and I'm going to use their framing here, is that the hair isn't being pushed from below, it's being pulled upward by the coordinated movement of cells in the surrounding tissue. One of the lead authors, Dr. Ines Sequeira, described it as the follicle acting almost like a tiny motor. They ran fluid dynamics simulations, and the only models that could reproduce how fast the hair actually moved were the ones that included a pulling force from that outer layer. The math needed the pull. Where does this sit on the evidence ladder? This is human tissue, which is a real strength. A lot of hair science is done in mice, and mice are not little people. So the fact that this is human follicles earns it credit. But, and these are the limits that we shouldn't gloss over, it's ex vivo. The follicles were in a dish, not on a living scalp, disconnected from your blood supply, your nerves, your hormones. A follicle in culture may not behave exactly like one on your head. It's a single study, one lab, one imaging system, one set of experiments. Extraordinary findings need independent replication before they become fact, and that has not happened yet. And it's mechanistic and observational, plus simulation. It tells us how hair growth appears to work. It is not a treatment. Nobody regrew anybody's hair here. And one more thing, because transparency is important, the work was co-authored and co-funded by L'Oreal, which sells hair care products. That does not make a peer-reviewed Nature Communications paper wrong, but you deserve to know who paid for it, and now you do. So genuinely exciting, genuinely well done, and genuinely early. So this is fascinating because it appears to reshape how we think about hair growth, not because scientists have cured baldness. Here's why I think this is worth your attention even at tier B evidence. For decades, almost everything we do for hair has pulled on two levers. Lever 1, increase blood flow to the follicle. That's essentially how minoxidil is thought to work, right? Lever 2, lower DHT, the hormone that miniaturizes follicles in pattern hair loss. That's finasteride or a natural blocker like saw palmetto. Both real, both useful. I'm not knocking either one, but look at what the study is pointing at. If growth depends on the follicle's own cells physically organizing and moving, on the mechanical condition of the follicle itself, then there's a whole dimension that neither of these two levers touches. The follicle isn't a passive tube you feed blood into and protect from a hormone. It's an active structure doing real physical work. And a structure doing work can be in better or worse condition to do it. That reframe the follicle as something you maintain, not just something you feed, is where the science keeps quietly pointing. And it's the part almost nobody's routine accounts for. And this is actually the gap that I build my own serum around. The health of the follicle itself is its own pillar, separate from blood flow and DHT. And that pillar is mostly about protecting the follicle from things that wear it down. Oxidative stress from sun and pollution, and the cortisol load from chronic stress. The lead active in my hair growth boost serum is Densidol, a microalgae extract. The way it's designed to work is twofold. Phycocyanin from spirulina switches on a cellular antioxidant defense called the NRF2 pathway, and xanthophylls from chlorella help dial down cortisol and support melatonin. So it targets both the environmental stress and the emotional stress. And it's paired with Bicapil, which is aimed at the growth phase and density side. The serum is linked below if you want to find out more. The more precisely we understand the follicle, the better everything downstream gets. The treatments, the routines, the expectations. And tell me in the comments, does the polling model change how you think about your own routine? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.